Hey everyone, welcome back to my podcast, Flowering into 5D. Today I have a friend of mine who I'm super excited to talk to today. Her name is Trish, so I'll tell you a little bit about her first and then we'll get started. So, Trish McCormick is the founder of Yule Glow Wellness. She's a holistic yoga teacher, mental health advocate, and soulful space holder devoted to helping others remember their light. Her path, shaped by teaching and living in Cambodia, taught her the power of presence, community, and heart led healing. With a passion for making wellness not just for the well, Trish creates accessible, welcoming spaces for all. Through Yule Glow Wellness, she hosts uplifting events and retreats that reconnect people with their inner glow and the natural rhythms of life. She believes healing happens in connection with ourselves, each other, and the earth. Her work is an invitation to slow down, breathe deeply, and rise together with light and purpose. Yes, welcome, Trish. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for that introduction. I know it's a tongue twister, but thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. You've been in Cambodia for a little while. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I arrived in August of 2023. I've been here before just as kind of a traveler, a few times or at least twice before, but short visits considering how far it is. And I decided to move here in August of 2023. My sister's been here for the last 14 years, and I came because she was starting a holistic wellness retreat business. And I decided that like things weren't really, it was the same pattern, and I kept just falling into the same traps of like woo me. But then when I realized that maybe I have some of the responsibilities for my life choices, I decided to make the choice to leave kind of my apartment, my friends, the familiarity of just my everyday mundane life. And I came here to help her host plant-based wellness retreats to help people heal. And through that, through my own healing journey, I was able to step into the power of a yoga teacher, which was something I've always wanted to do, but I've never had, I guess, the confidence to say, oh, I can do that. It was always like, oh no, like I can never do that. Although I went through teacher training and I loved all of that, I always took a pause and always, I guess, second guessed myself because of social media or just what you think a yoga teacher is supposed to be, which we can all laugh about that now, is there's no like standard model of what a person should be to be a yoga teacher or a teacher in general. So it took me a while to kind of unlearn those things or unlearn those beliefs I had about that to step into the role as a yoga teacher, which I'm excited to continue on, but still have those moments of what am I doing? But I hear that a lot, so I'm like, I'm not alone.
Yeah, definitely not. I think we're all kind of, if we're honest with ourselves, we're all kind of like, what am I actually doing? Like
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
if you're like super confident, that's a sign almost that you're like not in the wrong, but if you're super duper confident about everything you're doing, there's a good chance that maybe you're not on the right path because you shouldn't always be confident in everything you're doing. I think, anyways.
Yeah. I think that's 100% and something I live by, or the motto is like, for me, is like, I'm still continuing on my yoga education journey to be a better teacher or even just be more familiar with our anatomy and so on. But something that I always say is like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I
Mm,
always kind of use that as like my kind of my standard of like, okay, if you are excelling, that's beautiful and you should celebrate that. Not to say you should dismiss it and just go on to the next, but that could be a good sign of like you need to prosper, you need to evolve wherever you are. So you never want to be the smartest person in the room. You always want to keep growing and learn from other people too. It really humbles you.
definitely, definitely. So, speaking of lessons, I would love to know, like, what do you think that your soul came here to learn?
That's a great question. I'm still, I think, discovering that, but I think my soul, I think about this all the time. This isn't a question that's just like out of the blue. I probably think about it more days than not. But I think my soul came here to just maybe just even experience the human experience. So that's the good and the bad. I think a lot of my anxiety or my fear is just part of my soul's contract in some ways of teaching me resilience, teaching me, even just humbling moments. Like I said, like it's not always about being the best. It's about showing up and being your best. It's a little bit different. So I think my soul came here to teach me or learn and unlearn some things from whatever past life I may have done some shady things. And I can accept that, seeing, I'm like, okay. And just like being human and having that human experience, because if we knew what every day would look like, or if we had no emotions and we were just like flatline, we wouldn't be alive. Like if you look at the heart monitor, it goes up and down, and that's life. Like we would just be pretty boring, and we'd just be like, no life in us. There'd be no zest of life to live for. So I think my soul came here to learn a few things, maybe forgive myself, forgive others, and kind of, redeem myself from whatever past life I've done wrong.
I love that. I love that. And so obviously by you saying that you do believe in past lives, like, is this something that you've held on to like your whole life, or is this like something fairly new to you? Like, I'd love to know more about that.
It's probably more new. So I'm not saying I didn't believe it. Maybe I was more like on the fence or skeptical, like maybe, I don't know, like that in between. But just through the work I've done in Cambodia, and especially the spirituality in this country is very vibrant, I would say. I think I got more influenced by living here. More so, it's not that I didn't like believe before. It was more I didn't have, I guess, any firsthand accounts of being like, yeah, that's possible. It was like, yeah, maybe it's possible. I don't know. But being here, I think, enlightened me a little bit more to see my path is not just this body. It's beyond that. It's like sometimes we get too stuck in this like earthly body, and we forget about all the things behind us or before us or after us. So, yeah.
I love that. I read something a while ago that talked about how in the West, we've been so heavily conditioned with our religious programming that it's been very like Christianized, like one and done. And then you're eternally in hell, or like you're eternal. Like that for me doesn't sit right. And I'm not.
Doesn't resonate. No.
Yeah. And I mean,
I
people
agree
are
with
allowed
that.
to believe what they want. But for me, when I discovered more of the Eastern philosophies and Eastern religions, that kind of sat with me a lot better, because for me, it just doesn't make it. How can you just have one and done? Like, it's especially when you have these hard experiences. And then, for me, I've kind of come to the realization I probably had these hard experiences this lifetime because last time I was the perpetrator. You know what I mean? Like
something. Yeah. And I think like you probably taught this one of your lessons at the Playhouse of just like how rain works, like the reciprocation, the whole thing. So it's like we're made of water. So how are we supposed to just go up and stay when rain comes back down? There's that like circle of life. So a part of me thinks of that too. It's like, and I'm not saying anyone has to have our belief system, but just from my system, I think reacts more to that kind of dynamic of like we come back than just one and done. But maybe there's a chance, and this is just thinking outside the box, maybe we do stay up in a certain like energy or frequency thing, and then we're on hold or whatever in a waiting room, and then we come back. So it may not be as instant as like you hear people sometimes say like my aunt or my great aunt died and then I had a baby a day later. Like you hear that a lot too. But maybe there's some people that they wait and then they get like, I don't want to say recycled, but they come back like reincarnated in another time frame. So I don't know, but I want to believe that there's something greater than this. That's what I know. So taking away my like Catholic upbringing of like Irish guilt or Catholic guilt, I want to believe that there is something bigger than me out there for sure.
I totally agree. And you know what? I've heard about this reincarnating into your family's bloodline for, unfinished business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why not? Why couldn't it be the great aunt returning? I mean, yeah.
They're just as sassy as her or whatever, like, she's got that sass. Yeah. And then I've seen books too. Like, I don't know if there was a book that I gave my grandma one Christmas. It was a little boy and he swore like he knew too many details, even if like, this is like pre-YouTube and all that, like they had too much knowledge about World War II and they kept saying, no, I'm a pilot. And they had like all these dates, all these situations. And they say that before the age of 5, you're more connected to source or spirit. And he like had too much like firsthand knowledge about it. But he allegedly, this little boy said like, no, I was a pilot. I died in World War II. It was like, kind of like, you can't just make pretend. It's not like, oh yeah, like, you know. So I think
Yeah.
that's really interesting that some people will say that their children will have like very deep connection to source or energy, and even babies looking maybe at the ceiling or different things. It's like they're in tuned already because they're the closest to that realm than we are. So
Yes.
I think there's some truth to that.
I completely agree. And yeah, I've heard this boy's story before, and I've definitely been down some deep dives of like, ooh, you know, got some books about
Yeah.
past lives, and here, you know, I
Yeah.
keep honestly, I'm like asking my daughter, I'm like, do you remember any lives before? Like,
Oh, we do that all the time. Me and Eileen do that to Rumi because he's obsessed with the Titanic. And
mhm.
last year we had a Titanic cake for him. Partially it's my fault because I got him obsessed with it, the history and everything. But we keep asking, like, were you on the ship? He's like, no, don't think so. We're like, where were you? Like in that time? Were you alive in 1910? Because he's like, it's beyond an obsession that we're like concerned. We're like, all right, well, there's worse things to like. But yeah, he really loves history. So we're like, which time period were you living that you like
Yeah.
that so much?
Yeah.
But
That's
whatever.
so funny. I remember
Yeah.
when I was working somewhere else, there was a boy who was like, I think he had gone to the Titanic Museum or something. I don't know where it is or anything, but
Yeah.
he was just like on this Titanic train of information and telling me all these facts. And I just think it's so amazing how kids can like not get obsessed with something, but and then they find something that they're interested in and they just go in and they remember too, which I
Sure.
mean, I feel like this is something that adults almost forget to do or forget know
Yeah.
like how to do because, you know, maybe they're in the cycle of, you know, the rat race or whatever. And I just love seeing that with working with
Mm-hmm.
kids that they have this thirst for knowledge that can, you know, be shut down by so many
Mm-hmm.
things, but find it almost admirable.
Yeah, it's just I think that we discussed this with roommates. It's like sometimes they just want to master something because as adults, maybe as a child they can't get ready by themselves, or maybe they have trouble in school reading and writing. But when they find something like it could be dinosaurs, it could be a type of car, like sometimes I don't know what half the facts I'm getting, but I'm like, wow, like I learned something today, and it's because they find something that they're able to thrive at. And for us, it's like we kind of lose some of maybe those skill sets because we're too, like you said, in the rat race. But it's interesting to see their light up, in certain things as a child. Again, I think it goes back because they're so much closer to source. They have that that energy that allows them to enjoy the simple things that we maybe take for granted as grumpy people. No, I'm kidding.
Mm.
As older people. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they're definitely more in the now, right? Like that's
Yeah.
that's 100%. And I mean, there's no denying that they don't really sit there and
Yeah.
think about like, oh, well, remember when I mean, they do, but not as
Yeah.
much as we do. And actually,
Yeah.
speaking of growing, I'd like to know like what's one belief you once held that you've since outgrown?
There's so many, but I guess it's like this might be okay. So I guess let me give you a little bit of a backstory before I say
Yes.
this, and you're like, oh my God, what does that mean? So when I was little, before I was born, my parents were divorced. So I guess I grew up with this idea that like I wasn't supposed to be on this earth. Like I always had this feeling of not belonging in certain ways. So I had to outgrown the idea like I'm not supposed to be in this space. And that was something really hard because like jokingly I would bring it up and be like, haha, like I'm a mistake, and you make those like little on off jokes until you sit with yourself and you're like, oh, it's not a joke. Like that's actually how I feel. So in the last year and a half, that's something I unlearned, like regardless of how I was conceived or the energy behind it, there was a reason. Maybe my soul came here, like you said, for whatever it might be, or maybe I had to be part of my parents' soul contract as the last child. So that's something I had to really heal from and not make jokes about, and just honor that like that's how I was feeling and there's a purpose for my existence.
I love that. And I think you're right in that you really have to be aware of how you speak about yourself and others because it's I feel like in the West it's like so normal to like degrade yourself like as like I'm just being
Yeah.
funny and like LOL and like I'm garbage
Yeah.
or but
Yeah.
really like our words are spells. I really do believe this. And if you're
I
sitting
do
here
believe that.
talking poop about yourself all day, it's going to just keep reflecting on you in that way and just make you go smaller.
Yeah. They have something they're selling at the studio we work out, right? And I think it's funny, but then I'm like, no, it has power, so I can't buy it. But the bag is like, those like recyclable bags you have for like the grocery store or the market. So it's fun. But then one day I sat with him, so I was like, no, it has meaning. So the bag says like, I have a lot of baggage, and it's funny, like in the Western context. But then when I sat, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have that as like my mantra walking around. Like I am emotionally, my energy's fucked. So I think that's true. So I'm more mindful. Like even memes I send now, I know that sounds silly, but like there used to be things I would send as like dumpster for, you just whatever.
I know what you
but
mean.
Now I'm more mindful of like maybe I shouldn't send that because I'm putting on the universe that I think my life's a dumpster fire, or I think I have this or that. So I'm more, I guess, aware of even the things that I am bringing into or attracting into my life, not even the words I speak, but the things that I'm reading or the content that I'm absorbing day to day is managed maybe a little bit more than it used to be. Instead of like, that's just so funny, like whatever, don't take it seriously. And at the same time, I think that what we say is very powerful. So we should be mindful.
I mean, I think this already. I completely agree with this stuff. And I'm like, so like, not die hard, but I'm like, what we watch is programming this, what we're listening to is programming this. Like I have like completely had to change my media landscape because it's so powerful, the stuff that people are watching and they have no idea. And I mean, I feel like I'm like on my soapbox again, being like, hey everyone, like be careful what you're what you're taking in. But it's something I feel so passionate about. And I don't know about you, but I feel like the more that I withdraw from popular media and like movies and TV and music, it's almost a little bit more, well, not almost, it's quite isolating because then, especially also being in Cambodia, it's like once you get that bird's eye view and you're removed from the situation, you can see like the tentacles of garbage that's going into people and nobody gets it. Like you try to have a conversation about it and it's just kind of like, no.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's really easy to get into doom scrolling, I'm using that as an example. And something that I received advice from a therapist was like, never take advice from someone you wouldn't switch your life with. So I use that kind of even in social media. Like if I'm following someone, like why am I following them? Am I like learning from them? Is there a skill set that I would admire from them, whatever it might be? Or maybe it's a certain lifestyle they live that I can admire, but not in a toxic way. I can't like just overly focus on something that's not attainable. And respectfully, there's a lot of people that aren't like natural in the sense of like they have filters or they get filters and that's fine. I want people to feel confident. So of course that's what they should be doing, but it's like that may not suit my system. And I try to be mindful of that because what we absorb really does affect our like in a cellular level. So, absolutely. And have you seen this? It's like, have you seen this picture? It's like your ear and it looks like a fetus. So it's saying like kind of like what you listen to. It's like that. And then like your voice, or that looks like how do I say this politically correct? Like the female anatomy. So it's like the creation is like in your voice, and what you listen to, it's like if you spoke to a child, like you would want to give them loving words. And I think that's really interesting, just how our anatomy is. And then it also kind of is a symbol of what we should be doing with our spirits as well.
Oh, I haven't seen that, but I absolutely love it and completely agree because everything is so divinely connected. And I feel like there's so many levels to this that we as, I don't want to say regular people, but like, we as regular people are maybe not as aware of. And, that's so interesting. I would love for you to send that to me if you have it on hand.
I will, for sure. But that kind of changed my perspective on things too. It's like, I don't know, when you see it that way, you're like, wow. Or even like your fingerprints, or like the tree like rings, like so many things in us is so related back to nature. And it goes back to like how the rain cycle is and how we're all connected to nature. We all are nature in a sense. If we choose to see that way or live that way, but we all can be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. The last guest I had on has a journaling book series called My 5 Seasons, and she just talks about, how there's different seasons of your life, obviously like weather seasons as well.
Mhm.
But I love how it's like kind of connecting to that
Yeah.
conversation that I had, because yeah, it's absolutely true. It's cyclical. Everything's cyclical. And just to, say that like, oh no, it's linear. Like, I don't think so. I think there's enough examples at this point that
Yeah.
it's not a linear thing, that this life, this planet, this whole experience that we're having.
Yeah. It goes to our moon cycles. It goes even to Ayurvedic medicine, which Ayurvedic medicine is fairly old. I would say, I mean, it depends on who you ask, but it's kind of more ancient in the sense that certain foods we're supposed to eat during certain seasons or even climates. So for here, it's very hot in Cambodia. So we're probably supposed to have more cooler foods depending on our doshas. But I think there is some relations to that. It's just about like listening to the natural rhythm of our bodies and our nature and the seasons, of course, because yeah, it's so important just to be on the time clock of nature, not ours, because it doesn't really matter. Like, they say
Mhm.
like make plans, God laughs. It's like, don't make plans, just follow the natural like rhythm of our nature and you'll hopefully be okay.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. This is your
Well,
year.
and that's interesting too that you mentioned Ayurveda, because, we're like, you and me are both in Cambodia right now. And,
Hmm.
us taking in things that are growing around here versus things that are not growing around here, imported things. I don't know about you, but when we uh have more of a relationship with the natural world around here, I feel a lot more nourished. And I mean, it could go into, we could go into like globalization and like, apples grown in the US and being
Yeah.
shipped all the way over here, not as nutritious, et cetera, et cetera. But um, I just thought that was interesting that you brought that up. And, again, like being more connected to here rather than there.
I, yeah, I mean, I know that you go to the market and you are mindful about the like fruits and vegetables and the everything that you're shopping for. And of course, in Cambodia, there's still like processed food. And I'm not saying I don't eat ice cream, but I will say this: from living here, I do feel a difference in my hormones as well. So when I first got here, I used to get like I was never diagnosed with this, so like I didn't see a doctor, it's just my own like symptoms of Google, if you will. So I preface that. But I used to suffer from like PMDD, which is a more extreme version of PMS, but mine was more
Mm.
depression based. So when I was like a week before, a few days before, I would get into these depression states. Like I would be like tired, like I had no drive. I could have stayed in bed. I made myself get out as a person, but I would get just very low. And then when I got here, I realized that I didn't have any of those symptoms. Like I never feel that way. Now it's kind of like, oh, I can't believe it. Like it's that time of month. Like I have no like I guess signs. Like before I had very much signs like, oh my God, you are in the lowest low. So I found that very interesting of having that shift of the environment here, whether it's food based or just the environment of the land. But I did see a correlation between that and feeling the difference in my system by living here the last 2 years.
Hmm. Well, and I think I you've been to Bante Sre, right?
Yes.
So like, you went there. So it's for those who are listening who don't know what that is, that's a spa here. It's a women's only spa that everything is made either on site or very local, right down to
Hmm.
the rice noodles. And, during this experience, you're pounding out herbs that are grown locally. And it's like, you put it on your skin, you go for a steam, you go for some washa and cupping, and then you can go for a little plunge pool. But anyways, my point is that just one day there, I felt a complete shift. And I'm already in the, I'm buying at the local market and everything, but just that organic taste of, you can't get any more
Yeah.
local than this, and like putting locally made things on me, I felt it to be so powerful, because I could just
Hmm.
instantaneously feel a difference. And I'm like, if this is one day, then imagine what it would be like. I mean, I'm going like crazy, like bird's eye view
Yeah.
right now, but imagine if we all were in a community where things were grown locally, like how different the world would be and
Mhm.
how different we would be as people. Like it's, sorry, that was like,
Yeah.
all over the place, but
No, I
yeah.
mean, and even the owner of that spa and the restaurant that's in town, shout out. She is very like, I mean, that's the thing. She puts a lot of great intentions into her spaces and the food that she does, and I do believe that that's a big factor. When I did my gut health series here in Camp Hot, one thing that I mentioned was there was a study of rats, and one rat was fed like high cholesterol foods, but they were petted and they were like loved and adored on, and the others were just fed, you know, not the best food, and they didn't get the TLC. And the difference was the ones that were held and nurtured, they actually had no change in their bodies. But the ones that had like the high cholesterol food, they actually had a spike in all these medical problems. So it's the intentions and what we do to our bodies. So if we like share a meal with a loving friend or a partner or a child, it's like putting that intention in there. Like you probably have gone home maybe, or maybe when someone you dearly care about makes you food and with such loving intentions, it tastes better. I don't know, it's just a
Yes.
different frequency in what we eat. So even with the spa that you're mentioning, not only do they like make all the ingredients. I know from the owners, like all the girls in the morning go to the markets. It's like that's the first thing they do in them. So everything they do from like the start of their day to when people show up, it's the intention behind it. So of course we may not have the luxury, or I wish, to go there every day, but it's like having what you said, those like mini glimmers of the day of taking care of ourselves, especially as women and mothers. We sometimes put ourselves, I'm not a mom, but sometimes mothers put themselves on the back burner. So having those moments of just like speaking kindly to ourselves, or, you know, doing those things like can really benefit ourselves and our families.
So I love that. I didn't mean to be like so, but yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of
Yeah.
change gears for a second because I know, well, I definitely know that you're
Mhm.
leaving in a couple of weeks. And I
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, I'm wondering like what are you bringing back to the US from your time in Cambodia that is going to help you to
Uh,
guide the people of the US or whomever is coming your way?
yeah. Well, I think a lot actually. I think most of my anything that I'm going to pursue is going to be definitely highly influenced, and I will show my respect to Cambodia, the land spirits, all of the above, and even the name Yule Glow came from. Um, Essentially, I was in ceremony at Samaya Retreat, which is my sister's retreat, and something that came to me so randomly was like Yule, Yule, and I was like, Yule tide, like Yule, like what does this mean? You know, you're in meditation, you're like, what does this mean? And I asked my sister, who speaks Khmer, I said, what does Yule mean in Khmer? Like, I don't understand why is this just keeps going. And she goes, oh, Yule, it's spelled differently, I might add, but it means understanding. So
Mm.
something that sat with me is like, I want to create a space that people feel understood. And that's where Yule Glow comes from. It's like the word Yule. And when this all came about, it was December. So it's like Yule tide is rebirth too. So it was like all encompassed. And people were like, why that? And like, honestly, I wish I could change it, but this is just what the universe wants. It has to be this name for now. So essentially, even my name that I will be branding, if you will, is very much influenced by Khmer spirituality and culture. And what I want to bring back too is like something that I learned here in Cambodia, starting as a teacher, is like I used to always be like, I'm not enough. Like this person's doing this person's stronger, this person can do a headstand, like all the above. And I realized that maybe my gift to teach is to be like more free in what I do. So instead of being so structured, like this is how it has to be, philosophers, and it's like, okay, yoga also, this is going to be a controversial take, but yoga, yes, there's ancient practices, but a lot of the modern yoga poses are actually not that old, and it's been like westernized in some ways too. So sometimes when people are like on their spiritual ego, like it has to be this way, you're like, okay, but not really. That's how I take it, just studying it. I want people to have the freedom to flow. So I want people to feel in their bodies, feel at home, and even teaching at the studios here, I want to say 90% of my day or classes are people from all over. English is their second language. So sometimes we don't always speak the same language. It's the frequency, it's our body language, it's the connection we have just being in this space together, holding that space. And that's very difficult. So what I've learned is like, it's not even what I say. I could have the perfect cue and be like, wow, that was 10 out of 10. It doesn't matter because that's just my ego. And it's not that they're not really listening to that. They're feeling it. And that's really important to me, coming from the West that had dance mirrors. We used to have mirrors in studios. And I used to always be like, do I look cute? Is my outfit cute? Now sometimes I come to class, like different patterns and oversized shirt. Like I'm not in like Lululemon, like I'm the opposite of what a yoga teacher is. I'm like, this feels comfortable. I'm going to wear this today or whatever. It's not about what we look like. It's how we feel. So I'll take that back with me. And I'm hoping that as I continue to study, I'm right now studying my 300 hours and studying trauma-informed yoga as well. I hope I can take that back. It's just feeling into your body. It's not about how you look. It's how you feel. And be able to feel understood. You're understanding yourself and understanding others. So it goes back to the compassion aspect of yoga or just in life.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I know that the people who come to your classes, your retreats, your experiences, if you will, are just going to be so much better for it, because I know, that the people who have been to your classes here are also so much better for it. And, I'm so excited for the future for you, because it's bright. I see it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, leaving something that is beautiful, and when you move on to the next chapter, sometimes it's hard to make that decision. And like I said, not that I think I'm the smartest person in the room by far, no, but at the same time, I know I'm at that spot in my evolution, if you will, that I know like I have to challenge myself a little bit more. And I hope to do online classes or even like do 15-minute morning flows on YouTube, which scares me so much. But the person I'm studying under, that's like her bread and butter. And even she's like, yeah, I'm nervous all the time. I'm like, you're nervous? Like, because when she has her, she's like, hey guys, welcome back. That whole like no tension in the throat. So I'm hoping that I could be more of a presence and stop being backstage. A lot of my time in the States when I was in wellness, I was always the ones coordinating behind the scenes. So like, and that's beautiful and that's great, but I hope to be more front and center and shine my light just as much as I want others to shine their light.
I love that. I love that. So I'll just share with everybody who's watching and listening how they can connect with you, which would be via Instagram. So Trish's link would be Yule Glow. It's on Instagram. YULE. Sorry, I'm gonna YULEGLOW. All one word, lower, uppercase. I think it doesn't matter. And yeah, I feel so grateful to have had you here today, Trish, and have you also here in Cambodia. You're just a wonderful, wonderful soul. And I'm just so excited for your next chapter and so grateful to know you.
Thank you so much. And I'll end with that. I actually got a Khmer tattoo that says thank you, because that's the only word in Khmer I actually knew, and the only one I think is the most important. So wherever you go, just learn how to say thank you, because gratitude is the best attitude.
I love that.
But yeah, before I left, I got it. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And, I'd love to catch up with you, obviously as a friend, but on the podcast, maybe after some time you've been in the US, and see what you're up to and catch up that way as well.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Trish. And thank you, everyone. And gratitude is the attitude. Woohoo.
Thank you, Akun.
Yeah.